YouTube, what's up? It has been 6 years since I posted a car video, and I'm back. I sold my 2012 SI a long time ago, traded it in for a TL Type S, and had a family, got married, and got out of the game for a little while it made sense, and been looking to get back in for a long time. Bought a 2006 RSX Type S last year, but just wasn't doing it for me. It wasn't what I wanted, so I ended up trading that in for my 2019 Accord 2.0 turbo 6-speed manual that my wife drives. But then after this not doing it enough, I went last week and bought 2 weeks ago rather, bought a 2020 Type R. So here she is, completely stock, unmodified, nothing done to it yet. I'll get there eventually, but window tint's coming here soon at the end of the month or earlier, depending on when my guy can get me in there. But I'm undecided on some things to do. There's a lot of talk and speculation out there about bad products, and a lot of purists out there who aren't using some of the name brands that's been around for 20, 30 years, like Engine. For some reason people are saying Engine has a bad product for this car, which I don't really know. I ran Engine on every single Honda of mine I've ever had, so I'm undecided yet on what to do with this one yet, as far as intake and how a blow-off valve could potentially affect any of the internals of the car. I mean, I have some buddies of mine who have these and are running HKS blow-off valves and things like that. So I'm undecided what I'm going to do with it yet, but I wanted to show everybody that I'm back in the game. I'm back with the 2020 Type R, and it is by far probably my favorite car I've ever driven. And I spent 4 years before I made the decision to buy one, whether or not it was going to be the right choice, because it's most places in the US are selling them over sticker. In my area, which is Columbus, Ohio, they were going for, in the big dealerships, 10-15 grand markup at the dealer alone. So it's hard to get your hands on them for stickers. So I had to drive to Ferndale, Michigan 3 weeks ago now actually, to buy this at sticker. But it happened. So here she is. I gotta get my keys. Hold on a moment. Kids. So 2020, they changed some things in 2020. These don't come with drilled rotors anymore. They come with how did they word it? I forget the wording of how they did the changes to the front brakes. Dual rotors, maybe? I don't know. Less. I forget what they said. Whatever, doesn't matter. Front end changes a little bit too. So they took away the mesh. I don't know how much people have looked at it, but the mesh front is gone, and they're using these now, which is a little different, updated. And these pieces are painted to match whichever color you do get. Wheels and tires are the same. I mean, the trim level is the same, really, but the rear's changed as well a little bit. They added this to the rear. It's kind of the same as the front, where they changed it from the 2019 and under. But some of the bigger changes are inside. The more, I think, the cooler changes, in my opinion, some of the things they did. So a lot of people don't really know because they haven't looked into it, but they did a full Alcantara suede wrap on the wheel, whereas the 2019 and earlier were leather. So that's a big change that I loved. Big fan of that. And then they changed, this is not leather anymore either. This is Alcantara suede with a new shift knob. It's a weighted knob. It's a little different than the 2019 and earlier. And then everything else is relatively the same inside. Same seats, same dash layout, same everything that way. But some suspension changes as far as how ride quality was changed in 2020. The dampening kits were adjusted in 2020. But the motor stayed exactly the same. Watch out, please. So some really good updates to the car in 2020, and I'm excited to see what they do hereafter. I'm assuming they're going to keep production up because they're selling crazy. With the 2020 Type R Limited releasing later on this year, I believe it's going to drive the prices more for many of these. But yeah, here we are. I'll do a video here soon about actually driving the car and my personal reviews on driving the vehicle. But this car truly blew me away because I didn't really know what to expect because I never drove one. You can't drive them. You have to either basically be buying the car or have to find one used that a dealer would be willing to let you test drive. So me never driving one and never having any friends that I knew about that had them was difficult to try to find and try to get my hands on one. So the first time I drove this car was actually after I signed the documents at the Honda dealership in Michigan, and honestly I was blown away. I mean, it's not the fastest car in the world in a straight line, don't get me wrong. I mean, it absolutely moves, but when you put it in Plus R, in R mode, this car is an absolute animal. It is a monster through the turns, the handling, just everything about it is so responsive, and I couldn't be happier, honestly. I mean, from potentially looking at the STI, the new STI, which is roughly 10 grand more ish, depending on which one you go with. This car's lighter, has a little bit less power, but it's just my preference. I don't trust Subaru really. I mean, for mechanical issues and things they've had going on for the last several years. But I've always been Honda. As you guys know, I've had 4 SIs, a TL Type S, an RSX Type S, and then 2019 Accord, and then now this. And from driving this to driving this is a completely different experience as well, because this car is phenomenal. I mean, from a family sedan, this is essentially a Type R, really. I mean, the same exact motor, it's basically watered down. It has a smaller turbo, a couple changes in the internals, but this car is phenomenal as well. I mean, it just wasn't that. So I had an itch to scratch, and this is what's scratching it now. But this car's great. I mean, no complaints there. 260 horsepower and roughly the same torque. It's great. But this car is a whole nother monster when you put it in Plus R. Even in sport mode, it handles well. It sounds really good in sport. And then comfort mode, you put this baby in comfort mode on the freeway, and it's like driving a damn Cadillac. I mean, it's awesome. Granted, the tires, I kind of wish they would have done 18s with a little bit more of a sidewall of the tire, but I think I will eventually end up changing these to something probably lighter and probably in an 18. That way I can run a little bit wider tire, because I don't really care for the how the wheels sink inside of the fender lines, if you know what I mean by that. So I'll probably eventually do something like that. And I'm not going to do coilovers. As you guys have seen all my previous videos, my SIs were scraping the ground on coils, and I daily drove them like that. I'm not going to do that with this because I don't want to lose my 3 modes, because I enjoy those, because I'm older now and I have a family that often ride with me in here. So I don't want to lose that, but I will do springs probably and drop it 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches at most, if I can, and throw some wheels on it that look good. But I'm really intrigued by the Mugen kit released in Japan, so I'll keep you guys updated.